I think the market slowed down a little bit, right? That was 21 when a lot of people got hit really hard. Like we still ended up in the green. Um, could have been better. Could have been a lot worse. So, but that was one of the handful that we had done up until that point, and ultimately I think it was just continuing to build that process and understanding of what a whole home remodel looks like. So.
Welcome to the Boise REIN Show, your destination for creating wealth through connections in real estate and business. Are you looking to become a real estate professional? Do you want to start your own successful real estate business? Well, I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki. Join us as we learn from the brightest minds, industry leaders, and experienced professionals, equipping you with the knowledge and confidence needed to make informed decisions and thrive in the ever-changing real estate landscape. Your journey starts now. Welcome back to the Boise REIN Show. I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki, and today we've got Kole Bailey in the house. He is going to talk to us about grit, opportunity, and getting the work done. I know this is something that's relatable to a lot of us out there, and he's going to walk us through his processes on how he got it done. So, Kole, thank you for coming in today. If you wouldn't mind, just get the audience up to speed a little bit about where you're from, where you came from, and where you're at today.
Yeah, sure. Excited to be here chatting with you. So I guess where am I from? From Twin Falls, Idaho. Fourth generation Idahoan. I went to Boise State and played football, and during that time, kind of tried and failed at a few side hustles while I was there. Ultimately, ended up starting a digital marketing agency, or I guess joining a digital marketing agency after school, and flipped my first couple houses while I was doing that business, and then uh, got into being a general contractor for that.
Wow, that's a lot. How old are you again? You're pretty young, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 26. So.
26 to have gone through all these different sectors of the market. And you started playing, you said you were playing football at BSU.
Right.
What made you choose BSU and go into the football route?
You know, I sort of grew up during the Kellen Moore era. I saw the sort of rise to the top, and just had that dream of playing for the home team. Family was important to me. I wanted to, be able to stay in touch and go see my mom fairly easily. I actually wanted to get out of Idaho. Like I thought that it'd be cool to leave and maybe go to one of the other schools that wanted me to play for them. But ultimately, I prioritized family and that vision of like being a part of something that makes a difference in so many people's lives in the state of Idaho, which is Boise State. So
Right on. People choose to go to college because that's what we were groomed and told to do, to go to school, right? Was there something that you took in college that you're like, I'm going to be a business professional, I'm going to be in marketing, I'm going to go be an engineer? Like what made you decide to go to school? What'd you go to school for?
well, um, what I always had a desire to like improve my um, financial situation. I wouldn't say that I grew up in a lower income household, and so I my initial major was pre-med, and I was a pre-med major, and got I was on track in all those things, and then actually had an illness in the family. So my mom got cancer when I was in my early 20s, and kind of went through that battle for a couple of years, and I really got exposed to the medical system, and the way that sort of hospital policy and insurance plays a big role in what physicians are actually able to do, in the capacity of helping people and making a difference in the world. And like I wanted way more control than the control that the typical physician has. And that's when sort of had a few mentors. I was reading the right books, doing the right thing, that I developed a view of capitalism as a vehicle for change, and the ultimate route that I was going to take to try and help people and change the world. And at that point, I was like already whatever, a few years in, had a bunch of these credits. Like, crap, what do I do? Well, psychology is important for business, so like let's just roll into that, and maybe I'll learn a little bit about how people think, or um, you know, all maybe a little bit about marketing or something like that. So
It's hard to know the road ahead and what you were going to do, but I love that you were looking at opportunity costs and what you were passionate about. You were familiar with the med side of things that happened with your mom, so you knew you wanted to do something like that, and you're also looking at opportunity costs, like where can I make the biggest difference? And that's not only going to support me, but it's also going to support the decisions and choices that I want to make in my life. And that's where that stemmed from. It sounds like, right?
yeah, I just want to make an impact.
Okay.
So
So while you're in school, you're trying to make these big decisions on where to take your life. Were there any other things going through your mind? Like, is school not going to work out for you? Do you need to do anything on the side? Like, there had to be more going on in that brain of yours.
yeah, I mean, without getting into too much detail, like there was, I was always financially minded, and wanted to be in a better financial situation even while I was there. And that was before all this NIL stuff. Now, like, I'm convinced I would have hustled and gotten a bunch of sponsorships with local businesses if I was still there right now. Yeah, I was always looking for side hustles. So, I think I tried my hand at dozens of, side hustles while I was there outside of like working um, for a moving company, doing some other side jobs. But that included, wholesaling. For anyone listening that's familiar with Jerry Norton, like way back in like, 16, 17, I was just like staying up late, just watching every video that I could of his, and sort of tried my hand at real estate then. But what I ultimately found success in was drop shipping, and sort of got familiar with digital marketing at that point. So,
So you had a few side hustles. You're trying to figure it out because you don't know what you don't know. But you're able to finish school and get into the workforce. Where did you go from there?
well, while I was still in school, I had lined up an opportunity. So there was one game where I had a concussion or something, so I wasn't traveling with the team, and I took the digital marketing skills that I had gained through the drop shipping stores that I was running, and I printed out a crap ton of resumes, and just looked up like biggest digital marketing agency in Idaho, right? And I made the list of the top 20 or 30 or whatever. They're all downtown Boise, right? And so I spent that weekend of not traveling with the team to go um, drop into all these marketing agencies and try and pick up a side gig to leverage the skill that I had just gained. And one agency ended up calling me back. They're like, "Yeah, we don't have anything for the specific skill that you have, but we've got a guy that we essentially subcontract work to that does what you're talking about doing. You two should connect." And funny enough, I had already been connected to that guy through the College of Innovation and Design in Boise State, and it was like rekindled that relationship. And ultimately, we ended up going into business together. And I was sort of starting to work with him during my last year at BSU, and then full tilt as soon as I graduated. So.
So you got into the business of drop shipping and e-commerce just because you decided, well, I may as well do something else with my time and I'll just throw myself out there and see if these digital marketing agencies will pick me up.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to generate income. Like, I think that I was convinced that I'd developed a high value skill, and I wanted to, leverage that skill to generate income.
Yeah, can you
So,
talk about that high value skill? Because I know even for me personally, like there are a million things out there that you can make money in doing. And you get so overwhelmed with analysis paralysis on what it is I'm going to do and what I'm going to niche on and where are my strengths and what am I passionate about? How do you break through that barrier of deciding, okay, I am going to jump in this ship and I'm going to row it as hard as I can?
yeah.
How do you made you come to that decision to go that route?
I mean, I think that's sort of a personality trait for me. Like, I'm extremely obsessive. Like when I decide that like or become interested in something, like I'll like I was staying up all night, like building Shopify stores, like setting up Facebook campaigns, like whatever that may be, like just figuring it out. Um, spending whatever pocket change I had at the time on ads, like product development, trying to just learning. So
And did the thought ever occur to you that you were probably going to fail at all of these things?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I was failing, and I just didn't stop. I just kept going. So
That's incredible. Uh, it's not about like I feel like it's not about how good you are at doing it something. It's can you commit to it and can you be consistent enough for a long period of time?
Well, the agency thing was the ultimate culmination because it was like, well, I'm tired of wasting my beer money on Facebook ads. Like, I'm gonna go find, somebody else that'll let me spend their money so I can learn how to do the marketing. And at the time, I was like, yeah, I'll go run ads for all these big companies and learn how to do it for myself. And then like I'll split off in a couple years and just, have my own business again. But like, why am I learning on my dime? I can go learn on someone else's and get paid. I've always looked for those opportunities for, like, a paid education where I'm not paying to learn, someone's paying me to learn. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's huge because you have to get in the coal mine and start digging for coal.
yeah,
If you want to be successful at anything, you have to get in there and do the job.
yeah,
And so you took something that you enjoyed doing at night, which was learning how to set up an e-commerce page or whatever else it is you wanted to do. You invested your own time to do that and then took that skill and marketed it to different agencies to hope that they would pick you up.
right,
And you got over the fear of they're going to say no and they're going to, I'm going to look like a fool. And finally somebody just randomly reached out. It just took a consistency of putting that work in to finally find somebody who would invest their time with you.
yeah,
And it worked out.
yeah.
And next thing you know, you build relationships and you build a network and you meet this guy that you said you knew him before and you just happened to she introduced you to him and like, "Hey, let's do this thing together."
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. And how did that go? The agency.
It went well. I think that, we're both young and hungry and, kinda timed that correctly. That was during the e-commerce boom of, 2020 with COVID. We were working in the food and beverage sector, which obviously, there's a lot of issues getting to grocery stores or grocery stores being shut down, so we're able to scale that agency fairly quickly. I think we could have made some better business decisions in the agency, so, ultimately, I ended up walking away for the betterment of the business, but we grew really quick, and I learned a ton, and I was able to allocate a lot of marketing dollars, uh, and just sort of develop that sense of, like, cost per acquisition and building out, those financial models to understand how to run a profitable business. At the time, I didn't even comprehend how that applied to other sectors outside of the specific niche that I was in. But that's carried over to everything else that I've done. So
I'm going to steal a quote from you. And the quote goes, and you can tell the audience where you got it from, but you said you had a mentor that said, "Quit chasing goals and start chasing opportunity." Did I get that correctly?
yeah, that was essentially the gist. It was like, quit trying to hyper focus on whatever arbitrary goal that you put on the board for the next year, 5 years, whatever it is, and kind of play loose and be open to when opportunities develop, to strike on those opportunities and move the goalposts forward. So
That's awesome. And the reason why I bring that up is because everybody talks about, I want to be financial and independent and retire early, or I want to make so much money a month that, I don't have to do anything, or I want to build a business so I don't have to work anymore. It's, it's not about those goals. It's about taking advantage of the opportunities and solving the problems in front of you.
yeah,
You started an e-commerce business because you had the marketing background, because you worked late at night and you saw an opportunity with the food and beverage drought we had during COVID and took advantage of that opportunity in front of you and did really well at it. Whether it was accidental or not, like, was there a reason you went into the food and beverage side doing e-commerce?
well, it's funny. There's a lot of business in town actually on the food and beverage side. I mean, you have Albertsons here, and then there's two or three very large food brokerages. Which, not to get too deep into that industry, but they're essentially the middleman in between a brand or a manufacturer and the retailer. So they obviously have access to a ton of brands that need help with selling the product. And during COVID, what became a big sort of like variable for Albertsons or whatever retailer to consider is how much volume are you selling on e-commerce? So if you want shelf space, you need to be selling in e-commerce. So it's like, okay, well, someone has to help these people who started a health food brand sell their crap to people online. Not crap, but
Yeah.
like, um, so, you know, that was a problem that we were able to solve, and then also, there's some power players in this valley, in that game. So,
Yeah.
and my old business partner was, like, family friends with some of those people from a young age, so we just sort of had those connections, and then we were able to leverage that to work with clients from all over the country, Los Angeles, New York, like, kinda the main hubs around venture capital, which is the way that most of the startup food and beverage, brands were, getting the dollars to get off the ground.
I feel like we could do a whole episode just talking about your e-commerce business because it's all relatable. It doesn't matter if you're starting a wholesale company or if you're starting a lawn care service, you're cutting yards or you want to go, start a snow plowing business. It doesn't matter what vehicle you're getting in because it all comes down to business. It's all relatable. You got into an industry and you learned it front to back. You made a bunch of mistakes,
Yeah.
whether it was on the business side or the finance side or, the goals moving forward. And you learned. You failed early, you failed often, and you fail forward. Like, how did you learn the big players? How did you learn to work with people out of state? And make those bigger connections and it's because it sounds like you took the business to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was through my old, um, the guy that I was in business with. So, like he had a lot of those connections, which made it really easy to just think like, and one of the families that plays heavily in the food and beverage game is also holds some of the most real estate in Idaho, if not the most. I don't know. So it's like being able to even like be of value to those type of people, like, it was just, like, immediately, like, be a giver, find a way to solve problems, and just, like, go head first into that with, like, confidence and a burning desire to, like, skip levels, right? Because you could go to, like, the mom and pop, like, farmer's market company and try and, like, make a few $100 to, like, do what they're doing, and it was just like, let's skip all those levels and, go to the people that are, like, allocating significant capital into doing this thing and go help them do the thing, because they're all trying to get, shelf space, and, like, by helping them sell their stuff online, they're getting shelf space. So
Skipping levels, I wanna talk about that a little bit because I have found that it's hard to skip levels. The only way you can do it successfully that I have found is networking and getting with the right people.
for sure.
It's super hard to do it by yourself. I'm not saying you can't, but you need somebody who can either help you along or you can have accountability with in order to do that.
Yeah,
I would say that's a big reason why, like, I personally joined the Boise REIN group
right.
because I have gotten further, farther, faster by networking and working with those people than I have doing anything
Yeah.
else.
Absolutely. There's a few things that come to mind. So, like, one of my favorite books is The Third Door, which, like, talks about this concept of, like, finding that third door into whatever you're trying to do. And then additionally, I used to listen to, the How I Built This podcast on NPR, like, when I was in college. I used to, like, binge listen to that podcast, and he always asks at the end, like, to these uber successful people, like, "Do you think it was hard work or do you think it was luck?" And, like, that question has always been burned into my mind, and I reflect on that often. I think with the skipping levels thing, like, it takes luck. You have to have luck, and I think it's generated as a result of hard work, but there's no denying that, like, there's a little bit of that, whatever, magic dust involved in being able to just, like, skip all the lower level stuff to go do what you wanna do. So,
I would agree in the sense that the harder you work, the more lucky you can become. Because let's take your agency, for example. You reached out to 30 plus of the highest agencies here in Boise. I think you would have had zero luck if you reached out to zero people.
yeah.
But the fact that you kept going and worked harder, I think increased the odds of how lucky you could have become and did become. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like you were pretty successful in this. Why'd you transition into doing something differently?
Well, so ultimately, outside of e-commerce, I played football with a guy whose family is local business owner, general contractor, and they own a solar company. And they contracted me to start doing paid acquisition for them for their solar company. And I sort of got exposure to like the home service remodeling space. and I was seeing, what the level of income could be from one deal and what I was paying to acquire a lead and what I was paying to acquire a deal for them. It was extremely attractive to me. And at the same time, I had flipped a few houses while we were doing the agency. So I already had, some kind of renovation experience. And I just kind of married those two passions and skills up together of customer acquisition and renovation. And that's how the company was born.
That's an incredible quick synopsis. I have to ask, how did you even decide to start flipping homes to begin with? Like, tell me your experience of your first home.
Well, I think that I had always wanted to. I don't really want to get into that. So the first house that I did was my mom's.
Okay.
So it's just kind of it feels weird to talk about that.
That's
So
okay.
yeah.
Do you did it come from a place of like watching HGTV growing up, or were you just doing this because it was something you
Well,
need to be done
okay.
for family?
Okay, so like one of the mentors that I referenced, like when my mom passed and I set my new site on business, not pre-med, whatever, forget that. Let's go after business. He started out flipping homes.
Okay.
Now he's one of the largest, well, not largest, but like he's a home builder in the valley, so builds several hundred homes a year, owns a bunch of other businesses, and that was always inspiring to me. So
Mentors are huge.
yeah,
You talked about skipping steps earlier. The way in my opinion, the way you skip steps is you find mentors, you find people that you can work with, you find that third door,
yeah.
right? So you found that third door, you saw how successful it was, and the margins were completely different than e-commerce. So is that when you started to teeter off the e-commerce and then just get into the, real estate full time?
Yeah, definitely that plus the, like, home service, customer acquisition, like, seeing, like, okay, well, like, I can probably acquire customers to, um, remodel their bathroom or, do whatever home renovation project that they need. And then, also some friends and family had seen the flips and, like, they, they worked with us as a remodeling contractor to do their projects, and so kind of those 2 things combined helped get the business off the ground. And then I also hit, networking groups hard in town and was just able to kind of communicate that passion and that vision for where we wanted to head and, really gain a lot of trust and sort of snowball very quickly.
You make it sound like this like it's a people business. Like you have to know people, you have to get along, you have to provide value in whatever it is you're doing. This show would not be possible without the support from our local community. Because of you, we're able to share information from leading professionals like never before. That's why our sponsors at Boise Turnkey Investments and Your Stay B&B have teamed up with the Boise REIN Show. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, they help bring you all the insider information to get you started on your journey today. Back to the show. But I want to get back into flipping homes, meaning you're buying a house, you're renovating it, and then you're selling it.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through a little bit of your experience of like what it looked like purchasing your first home that you're going to take seriously, that you're going to remodel? I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? Because that is a big step for somebody new,
Yeah.
somebody looking to get in this industry. And it's a great way to build active income if you're trying to like just get your foot in the door in real estate.
Sure. Yeah, I think like one thing that Kiyosaki calls out in Rich Dad Poor Dad is that like there's whatever, a bunch of deals like in your neighborhood, like walk your neighborhood, ride your bike in your neighborhood, and like talk to your neighbors. That's always been burned in my mind. And like I acquired my first primary residence in 21. And this is example of one of the deals. The next door neighbor, one day I see them like moving a bunch of stuff out of the house. And I just go over and start a conversation to see what's going on. Turned out the guy that was living there had had a medical problem. Multiple family members have a vested interest. Ex-wife has a vested interest. All of those things, and kind of they had sort of a big problem on their hand. They needed to sell the house quickly in order to cover his medical care. And so, it's sort of the like exact picture of what a value add. It was had deferred maintenance. It was sort of a distressed property, and all the boxes were sort of checked. And realistically, once I sort of got it them to agree to a purchase and sale agreement at a reasonable price. The money was like pretty easy. So
Did you negotiate this yourself?
yeah, yeah.
How did you learn how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement?
Well, I think that was all the way back to 2017. I was binge watching, Jerry Norton's channel, getting all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think I may have legitimately, like, gone back to his channel, whatever that was, 4 or 5 years later, and, like, downloaded one of his purchase and sales, or I used Rocket Lawyer or whatever it was,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think just, like, the continuous, um, like, consuming that content and, getting that into your subconscious and your ability to speak and act in a way, and just having the burning desire to, like, help the people and get the deal
Yeah.
done, so
And to go after opportunity. So, okay, so how'd you fund this deal? Did you
hard.
say it was your primary residence or
No, it was right next to my primary
okay,
residence.
okay.
Yeah, private money, hard money lender, so small local hard money lender.
Did
Yeah,
you just
he's
do a
he's
Google search? Did you use your network?
No, I use my network, so,
Okay.
yeah, it's actually it's an acquaintance through, my old business partner,
Sure.
like family friend,
Yep.
whatever,
And how'd you
yeah.
guys take down the deal? Was it like a sub-2 deal? Were you taking over their mortgage? Did you purchase it straight cash using the hard money? How did that look?
Straight cash, yeah, I mean, 80% I covered, rehab, so I had some skin in the game, um, yeah, I didn't do, like, a creative deal where I didn't have to bring money, like, I was moving a lot of chips out into the center of the table
Yeah.
going, "Let's roll, let's do this thing." So, yeah, best risk I ever took, so,
Yeah, everyone says fake it till you make it, but I would argue to say that that also builds confidence in yourself and what you can do.
yeah.
How did that remodel go? Did you do it all yourself? Did you bring in anybody to help you?
We self-performed probably 50% of it, and, the rest was, kind of our trade partners. Some of those trade partners I still use to this day. So,
You say we. Were the it was more than just you, or did you have people working with you at the time?
well, my fiance Katie's always been involved, and like she's a big driver. So I think like before like she was even driving towards like self-performing more of it than others. I don't know if she was on like a DIY Instagram kick or something of all the, really talented ladies and moms out there that put out a really impressive construction product on social. I think that's a cool trend. Like I know that she's into that, and that sort of helped push us into this like all the way back to the first flip in 2020. So,
Yeah, so we did a podcast with Chris Wolford, and he was talking about how powerful partnerships can be and finding the right people. And I was talking about this with my wife on here too, Kylie. It's incredible what you can get done when you're working with the right people or you found the right partner and you identify what your strengths are and you work together on something. And it sounds like Katie has been that with you and for you and going through these with you. So I'm not going to get into that here on this episode because you can go check those episodes out, but it's incredibly powerful how much you can grow together and move forward with somebody like that. All right, so walk us through the rest of the flip. It all went well. The rehab went good. I mean, any issues?
I mean, I think the market slowed down a little bit, right? That was 21 when a lot of people got hit really hard. Like we still ended up in the green. Could have been better. Could have been a lot worse. So, but that was one of the handful that we had done up until that point, and ultimately, I think it was just continuing to build that process and understanding of what a whole home remodel looks like. So.
Yeah, I think the saying goes go ahead.
I picked a blue color for these freaking cabinets for the kitchen, and, the way that the photos were edited for the listing, like, made it just look like the most exotic blue ever, and, everyone, they kept complaining about the blue cabinets, and it was like a last second decision. We were at Sherwin-Williams. I was like, "Oh, no, Katie, this blue looks awesome." And so then it was decided after that, like, I'm never picking out, one of the big selections in one of our flips or remodels ever again. Like, that's all Katie's decision. I'll stay in my lane.
Stay
So,
in your lane, right?
yeah,
Otherwise, stuff like that happens, but you learn
yeah,
from it,
yep,
and it makes for a great story afterwards.
yeah, yeah.
So it's 2021. like you said, the market seems like it's coming down. We don't know really where it's going. Nobody can predict the future. Is this a strength of flipping homes, something that you decided to just keep going after and stick your head down because you really enjoyed it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think after 21, we took a break for about a year because of kind of the volatility of the market, and didn't do another one until 22, and really just focused on building the remodeling business. At that time, it was sort of like I wasn't able to find deals that got me really excited about the margin, and sort of like doing client work was just about as lucrative, and so it didn't necessarily make sense to move all those chips out to do a flip when we were seeing similar numbers in servicing homeowners. So
This is very important because you listened to the market and you adapted to what its needs were. And that's the lesson I want to take from this from you saying that right there, because it sounded like you guys were all in on this flipping thing. And the market said, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to let you flip anymore." But there is this part of the market that is hurting that I think you should try. And you guys listened to that. And you were really good at it and you leaned into that. You adapted. So, from going from flipping to remodeling, you gotta build I imagine you have to build a new clientele list. You have to market yourself, you have to
yeah,
show your product, like, you're just a new company.
right.
You you may not have even done a lot of remodels to begin with, because flipping homes, forgive me if I'm wrong, but is a lot different than a remodel, especially if it's residential or somebody who wants something really nice.
In a lot of ways, the main difference is that you're servicing someone, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in flipping, the only person you're servicing is the hard money guy, and as long as he gets his checks, he's not coming to take a look at what quality of work you're doing. So, well,
Uh,
and I guess the end buyer as well. So we're definitely I think like a big thing is like I've always had the intention and the idea in mind of like who I'm building for, like when we do flips, because my guys like they don't like flips if they don't have a vision of like who we're building it for, because they're so conditioned to working for clients that I have to paint the picture of like this is for you know Chris and Jessica that are, like, early 40s, like, high earners, that want, like, a swanky house on the bench to, like, enjoy with their 2 young kids, which is why we're doing all this custom hardscaping, and, like, that's the direction we're going with the flips that we're doing. It's just, like, really being focused on, like, the customer avatar that we're building those for, which we can, like, pull a lot of the remodeling clients into the flips that we're doing right now, because we have exposure to the market on like what people are wanting. Several of our remodeling clients, like they're not longtime homeowners. They just purchased a home. One of the homes that we're doing right now, it was very distressed when they purchased it conventionally. And, we're coming in to completely redesign and rebuild the home to be like the custom setting that they want. So I think just pulling those details around like what the market wants and applying those to flips really sets us apart and gives us like a lot of valuable data that other flippers just they have they don't have any exposure to. So
because you worked on the remodeling side.
yeah.
Are you still doing both today, or are you just focusing on the remodeling side?
Yeah, we're doing a flip on the bench. I think it's actually going to turn into our primary, so that'll be our second home. We'll hopefully be moving in there by the end of the month. And then sort of have it on the goals to do 10 flips this year.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
So you're gonna be doing both,
correct. Yeah.
flips and rehabs.
Yep.
But your business specifically has been in rehabs for the past year or 2?
2 years. Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
yeah. I imagine you've built up a good client list and you've done a pretty good job at it. Alright, but I really wanna talk about remodeling. Why remodeling specifically, and what made you decide that you could do remodels better than your competition?
Well, it kind of goes back to the customer acquisition thing that we touched on earlier in the podcast. So that was sort of the initial thing that got us into there. And then the other point that we touched on was like opportunity versus having your head down. So when I first started with remodeling, I thought it would be like smaller, shorter kind of projects, maybe like a small fast bathroom remodel or that sort of type of project. But then it's so funny, like, each project that we did over the last few years, like, kept getting, like bigger and more custom essentially. And I think the market sort of directed where we were going with the business. And now ultimately we're servicing that mid-tier to high-tier client, doing a custom design build remodel product. I think that just ultimately came down to the quality of work that we were doing, and sort of the design that excites us and that we're passionate about, attracting the right people that want us to go create their vision for them.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of found like a hole in the market or a niche that needed filled and went after it. Took that opportunity
Or
and
the
went
hole
after
found us. I don't know.
it.
One of the two. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, luck.
yeah.
You talked about luck earlier. I don't think you could have luck without putting yourself out there though. Like you have to continue to do the work. You have to be consistent in it, for luck to pay off, which is where you guys are at today with Mode Remodel, correct? Yeah, Mode
Yeah.
Remodel.
Yeah, one of the biggest joys of like transitioning from the agency, which is all computer work, into like real estate, remodeling, flipping, is the physical creation of something that you can revel in the beauty of. It's like I took this from, ugly to beautiful, or from dirt to a structure that someone can enjoy for the next 50 years. Like that gives me and Katie both a lot of passion and energy.
Yeah,
So
you're servicing the community, you're giving value to others, and you're making everything better as a whole,
yeah,
especially for you and the people around you. Which you can't. I mean, you talked about capitalism. You love capitalism. Like
yeah,
that's the very definition of it is just building a community together.
yeah.
So, do you think you'll continue to do the remodel thing moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we have a really, really solid team set up, kind of in a better place than we've ever been before to be able to provide a better service and service more people. So definitely looking to grow that business this year.
I want to go on a little side quest because you mentioned we built a solid team. It's tough to build a solid team. You can churn through a lot of people. Can you talk a little bit about how you attracted some people to you or how they started working with you in the first place and how you defined their roles and built the team that you have?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the one of the most recent and sort of the biggest hire that I made is bringing on a project manager. So I just brought on a full-time project manager, which is a pretty significant investment for the business.
That's very
And
significant.
yeah, and I previously worked with the project manager earlier this year. I also brought on another different position that I thought I needed more than the project manager earlier last year. Um, we won't call it wasted, but we'll call that a paid education on a few of those moves, and then just like working with some other people that weren't the right fit to ultimately lead back to, um, the project manager that we're working with now had always communicated his vision and his burning desire to be in the seat that he's in, and in the short time that he's been there, he's performed with flying colors. So I think just sort of, listening to what's going on around you, and, like, definitely, I saw that Chris Wolford mentioned, like, he didn't think, like, people from Indeed lasted as employees, and, I definitely agree, like, on a position that's this sort of intimate to the business and this big of an investment, like, I don't think I would have been comfortable making that with someone that I didn't already have in my network and that I hadn't previously worked with, so
Yeah, I agree. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of business owners here in the valley, and they say the same thing. It's about word of mouth. It's about having run-ins or experiences with people, and when a problem arises, you think of that person like, oh my gosh, they were totally talking about this, and I didn't even see it. Like your new property manager, like he'd been talking about his vision this whole time, and you have that conversation with him, and it works out better than any kind of like resume or trying to fill a job or hey, I need some work. Can you help me out? Type
mhm,
deal.
mhm.
Would that be a good example of how all your positions have come up or the people that work with you?
Yeah, some of the other carpenters, so we have 3 in-house carpenters and our project manager, and then Katie and I, right now on the team, and, carpenters did come from, like, online, but, I mean, I did an extensive number of interviews, and, I was working with a leadership coach at the time and designed, like um I designed a system for hiring, and, like, all those folks jumped through a lot of hoops, and I got to know them really well before they ever came on. And, ultimately, everyone that I brought in through that process has been a great fit for culture and for product. And the couple of people that I brought in, either thinking I didn't have time or just not going through that process, have never working out.
That's
So,
incredible. That's awesome. It sounds like you've built a great solid foundation for your company moving forward. So speaking of this foundation, where do you see yourself building this company from here? I mean, how are you going to scale? What are you trying to do? What are your goals and aspirations with Mode Remodel?
yeah, I mean, our sort of target market is like Highlands, North End, East End, the bench sort of markets. And I think just striving to service those sort of design, build, remodel clients at a high level. Like I said, we're set up to, you know, um, I think we'll double revenue this year. So yeah,
Yeah. So you want to, I understand your target market is hitting those higher end homes. I want to dive a little deeper in how you see Mode Remodel scaling to that. You already have a few infrastructures put in place, like your project manager right now is a great example.
yeah. I already have the next 5 hires in mind, right? Like it's like I already have that org chart built out, and I know like who I need to bring in. So right now it's just a game of like get to the revenue level to be able to like bring in the next person and have it pencil and then increase the revenue level so that it pencils to bring in the next person. Like that's the game that I'm sort of playing right now.
I love that you
So,
call it a game that you're playing because earlier in this episode we talked about fire and I want to have X amount of money so I can quit my business. It's not about that. It's about the game because you enjoy doing it,
yeah,
and it's about taking that next step. So it sounds like you've already identified how it is you're going to get there. You do a lot of back planning, I imagine, and that requires that you get to X level of revenue so you can hire the next guy, which ultimately brings you back, doesn't it? It takes you
right.
back a step.
Yep. Better go sell. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then now you gotta work harder to keep that infrastructure up and moving.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you back plan? Like, how does Cole decide, "Hey, I wanna go after this, and that's how I'm gonna get there?"
Yeah. I was just doing this the other day. So I think like identifying the largest issues that are like keeping you from either providing a better service or scaling the business and then, condensing those down. It's like the Warren Buffett principle, right? Like write out your 20 biggest priorities and then erase 15, like focus on the 5. So I think once you get to that 5, it's like who or what type of person or where would I like does it need to be an in-house person? Can it be like a consultant or can it be like a fractional type of player that can help fill some of these holes? Like, who does it need to be? And then, like we talked about, creating that financial model to trace backwards and say, okay, well, this is the revenue level I need to get to, um, go out and bring that person on to solve those problems. And then once you've solved those problems, you go back, right? What are my 20 biggest problems? Okay, erase 15. Now go solve the next 5. So
Yeah, you're a problem solver. That's what entrepreneurs are. Boise REIN, I wanna challenge you to build a habit with me, reminding ourselves why we listen to developmental podcasts in the first place and why they are crucial for growth. Podcasts like the Boise REIN Show help jumpstart your way to success, improving your listening skills, expanding your vocabulary, heightening your knowledge, and giving you perspective on various business topics. Listening to mentors, peers, and role models like the guests we have on today can also inspire you to grow and improve. This is an investment you're making in yourself, saving you time and money you can't get anywhere else. So if you enjoy this episode, share that with us by giving us a huge thumbs up. Can't wait for the next episode to come out? Hit the subscribe so you're the first to hear our latest episode. Ready to take your business to the next level? Join the tribe and become a member and grow with us in person. Head over to boisereen.com to learn more. Back to the show. Well, Cole, I really appreciate having you on today. This has been huge, a huge and you gave us some inside knowledge that I didn't even know existed. But before we go, I do have one question for you. And that is, what's one actionable item our listeners can take today that will get them closer to their goals tomorrow?
yeah, we sort of just touched on it. I think just working backwards from whatever that high level vision is to create quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily action items that you can hold yourself accountable to. Be disciplined to complete. Do the boring work day in and day out, and then before you know it, you can accomplish more than, your wildest dreams.
I love that. And I do have to give an analogy because I live by this analogy too, is that it is just as important to steer the ship as it is to row the ship. And you have to steer the ship in the right direction. You have to know that goal that you're going for. Now, that goal may change, which is fine. You just have to know what direction to steer in. That way you can row as hard as you can. And that rowing is those day in and day out actions, doing the boring work and making it happen. Because without knowing where you're going, you're just going to row in a circle. And without rowing, you're going to aim at a target and never get there. And I love that analogy, and I love that you said that. So thank you very much. Kole, if people want to reach out to you, they got some questions or want to do some network or want to help you with another job, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, you can find us on social just at Mode Remodel or visit our website, moderemodel.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Kole, thanks again for coming. And for everybody listening, thanks for being on this episode today. If you enjoyed what you listened to, feel free to give us a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't. It really helps us out. We're trying to reach as many of you as possible and help as many people as we can, just like Kole here. So again, thank you, Boise REIN, and we'll see you guys next time.